Okay, so now we're going to move down to independent practice 3, but I want you to open up the database called Teachers Edited. Again, Teachers Edited, and that's in your K-12 folder. So we're going to go to the K-12 data folder, find Teachers Edited, and run this last reliability analysis from that. So I'm asking this question, independent practice 3, output 18. First, tell me if these 5 items, Q8A, Q18B, Q18C, Q18E, and Q18H, form a reliable scale. In other words, do they measure the same construct? And then secondly, if they do, and you actually looked at those items, what would you call it? And finally, is there something I could get rid of to make my scale even more reliable? So I'm again going to go down to Scale, Reliability, and I'm going to find 18A, 18C, 18E, and H. And I think I left off B. It doesn't matter what order you put these in. Okay, so you should have 5 items over in your reliability analysis, 18A, B, and C, and E and H. I'm going to make sure I see the item means, and I'm going to make sure I see scale of item deleted. And I'm going to click OK. Generally speaking, the more items you have, the more opportunity you have to create a reliable variable. It's generally not a good idea to go below 3 items. Sometimes you have to because surveys just can't be never ending. You actually want people to take the time to fill them out, so you have to draw the line when you're assessing many different variables. But if I look at my Cronbach's alpha of 0.588, I instantly know, because that's lower than say 0.65, 0.7, I don't have a reliable scale, a reliable variable from those 5 items. So I look at my means. I've got them all in this 2 to 3 range. And I scroll down and I see what could I get rid of to actually have a reliable variable. And you'll see a 0.709. Huge difference. All of a sudden, if I just drop one question, lessons promote inquiry, I raise my alpha to 0.709 from just using 4 of the 5 items. So that's what I would want to do. I would want to use 4 of the 5 items. So if I look at the 4 items that I'm going to use, the first one, curriculum relies heavily on textbooks. Second item, curriculum focuses on state requirements. Third, the curriculum helps prepare for standardized tests, and the curriculum uses short answer. Those 4 things, they're all about a standardized curriculum. So that's why they hold together. And this other item that I drop is the opposite of that. Lessons promote inquiry. That's not about standardization, so it's actually quite the opposite. And that explains why I dropped that one item. And I raised my scale to a reliable variable. If I wanted to, because that one item is the opposite of a standardized curriculum, then I could reverse code that item and see what happens. So I'm going to walk you through how to recode a variable. We did this in one of the earlier modules. But I'm going to go to transform. I'm going to drag down to recode into a different variable. And I'm going to find that one item, lessons promote inquiry. And I'm just going to call it reverse Q18H. And I'm going to say change. And what I want to do for the old and new values, because this is the opposite, this survey initially, a 1 equaled strongly disagree, a 2 is a disagree, a 3 is agree, and a 4 is a strongly agree. Because those are in the opposite direction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, for that item, make a 1 a 4, add that, make a 2 a 3, add that, make a 3 a 2, add that, make a 4 a 1, and add that and click continue and OK. And when I go back to my data, my variable view, and I scroll down to the very bottom, I made a new variable called reversed Q18H. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back now and I'm going to say I want to look at my scale reliability. I know that inquiry item didn't fit, so I'm going to get that out of there. And in fact, I think it was just the opposite of standardization, so I'm going to put the reverse coded item. In other words, our curriculum now doesn't promote inquiry, and I'm going to click OK. And my alpha only raised to 0.653. So what that tells me is that just reversed inquiry doesn't really have much to do with the curriculum. So I should have just used the 4 of the 5 items, and inquiry was in fact not the opposite of standardized curriculum, likely because it's more about teaching and instruction than it is about the curriculum documents themselves. So that's how we calculate internal consistency or the reliability of a scale. It's called Cronbach's alpha. So next, what I want to do is I want you to create that variable called standardization. So we know standardization of a curriculum is based on 4 items. And instead of analyzing each of these individual items 4 times, then we're going to create one larger scale. So to do that, we go to transform. Transform meaning we're going to do something to change our data. And in this case, we're going to compute a variable. The screen pops up, target variable. What do we want to call it? We want to call it standardized curriculum. You can't have any spaces. You can put an underscore if you want to, but you can't have spaces in your target variable names. So what's our variable going to be? We're going to go down to the curriculum relies on textbooks and move it over. Then we're going to add the curriculum uses short answer, add the curriculum focuses on state requirements. We're going to add that. And our 4th one that we tested was helps prepare for standardized tests. We're going to add that. And we're going to divide by 4 the number of items to put our scale back on the 1 to 4 possible mean, just like any individual item would be. So after I've done that, I click OK, and I can go back to my variable view, and at the bottom of the database, you see the new item that we just created called standardized curriculum, and that item is made up of the 4 individual items that we found to be reliable, the addition of those 4 divided by 4. So when I run a mean, analyze descriptives down to descriptives, and I go to the very bottom where I created that variable, the mean should be somewhere between 1 and 4. And so somebody gave 1s to all 4 of those questions, and somebody answered 4 to all 4. But the mean falls exactly what it should fall between 1 and 4. And the overall mean of those 4 items was 2.55. That's a reliable measure of standardized curriculum. We just created that variable, and it has a Cronbox alpha above 0.7. So anytime you create a survey, just in summary, you don't want to analyze individual items. You want to try to write multiple items that get at the same construct. You then find out if those items are reliable, and if they are, through evidence of a Cronbox alpha, say above 0.65, then you add them together, divide by the number of items, and create that new variable.